I want you to look at these two pictures and think for yourself, which one is the current nominee to the Supreme Court, Judge Brett Kavanaugh? One of these photos is him, the other one is not. These are photos from more than 35 years ago. One is the judge, one is a classmate. And if you're only watching mainstream media sources, you're probably never going to see these photos. Also in today's video, we're going to talk about guilt before innocence and some of the things that are being requested from Judge Kavanaugh's accuser, Christine Blasey Ford, that they not be in the same room, and also that when they testify that the judge should have to go first.
That's not how the law works.
I am Damonous. Jesus is my king. You are my family. So indeed, that's not the way the law works. The Bill of Rights, enshrined in the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, deal with this pretty succinctly. In Amendment 6, the accused shall enjoy the right to the speedy and public trial, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witness against him. Now, things are a little different in a congressional hearing like this, and this is why we have this media circus. Now, it is within congressional power to change this so that we don't have false political agenda trying to derail denominations. For those who haven't been following along real closely, quick summary here. Christine Blasey Ford is a professor and psychologist out of California who had sent an anonymous letter, or a private letter, I should say, to Senator Dianne Feinstein of the Judiciary Committee back earlier in the summer, July, purporting to have been had attempted rape performed on her by Judge Kavanaugh, who is a current district judge and who's now up for nomination to the Supreme Court. But in the intro to this video, again, we talked about guilt before innocence and whether or not who should proceed first when the testimony does get underway. What I wanted to point out, and this is a recent article, this is just from today, Sunday the 23rd, that they're still squabbling, if you will, about procedural logistics for the hearing on Thursday. And so what I mentioned before about them wanting Judge Kavanaugh to give testimony about this first, that is not the American way. In the American way, the accuser goes first, and then the accused has a chance to defend themselves. If people are forced to give testimony about accusations before their accuser goes forward, that gives a distinct advantage to the accuser. Now it's clear this is a sensitive issue because of the current Me Too, the recent Me Too movement, and all the things that came out in Hollywood, which I think everyone suspected under the covers. But this is not a like-for-like thing. Blasey Ford is bringing up something that happened 35 years ago for which she has not even given an exact time or place for, and has changed details about along the way. Currently as well, all 4 people that she originally claimed were in the house when this attack occurred, this alleged attack occurred, have come forward and said that either there was no such event that occurred, or they weren't even at the party, or there was not even such an event or a party to have occurred in the first place. I'm certainly not here to say, hey, sexual assaults don't occur and then men should just be believed out of the box. But I would say the same, that I don't think women should just be believed out of the box if it's something that's happened 35-some years ago.
And there are other things about Christine Blasey Ford's history and political beliefs that really lend this, especially with the very unusual way her legal team has gone forward and gone back and forth about her testifying, that lend this to very much be potentially a completely political maneuver. In June of 2018, Christine Blasey Ford was one of 5,000 health experts who listed their name on a document demanding the Trump administration end the family separation at the border for illegal immigrants. Now, people have also found that she's done some donations to the Democratic Party. It's not like it's a big gotcha, like it's a lot of money, like a huge amount of money, but certainly Blasey Ford is aligned with the Democratic Party in ideologies. I think the interesting thing, too, is that this could be, again, a political hit job to stop his nomination because of the transparency of the time. And even more than that is her careful deleting of her social media profile. And you can look at this, search for this yourself. You cannot find Christine Blasey Ford's Facebook page nor her LinkedIn profile. So this is interesting. Now, when this was deleted is unclear, but let's say this was recently deleted. Certainly Facebook history would show some sort of political leaning, and even potentially people whom she's friends with or has had lifetime associations with. Which is all critical because it gets us back to the photos that I led with. So this is Ed Whelan, president of the Ethics and Public Policy Center. So just today it was announced that Mr. Whelan is taking a leave of absence after posting this theory about Kavanaugh and a classmate who looks just like him. Now mass media, of course, is saying that this is another scandal and, oh, how terrible, because Whelan exposed the name of this classmate and essentially impugned his integrity. And we can look through here, but you'll have the links, as always. I'll put them in the bottom. But you'll see in the mainstream media articles, nowhere will you see those photos. And actually, in this Vox story, you'll see here that the original photos, one of them's grayed out, one of them blurred, right? Mind you, the cat is already out of the bag. This person's name has already been dragged through the mud, sure, just like Kavanaugh's name is being dragged through the mud.
I don't see how it's okay for one person to drag Kavanaugh's name through the mud, but for someone else to theorize that, maybe, hey, Christine Blasey isn't crazy. Maybe she did get attacked by someone that looked just like him.
But if you look hard enough on the internet, you can still find some information in terms of what was in this Twitter feed that Ed Whelan put out there. And this is very interesting stuff. So he had put together that, hey, it could have been Chris Garrett's home that was being referenced based on the mileage. Of course, the mass media makes fun of this, like, oh, he's using Zillow and all this stuff, and oh, what a conspiracy theorist. But now is where, if you remember in the beginning, it said, hey, which one was Kavanaugh? I actually got it wrong when I was looking at that photo on True News. In this photo, when I saw it, and I saw it several times, I went on right away to say, that's Kavanaugh. In my head, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I've seen him in the testimony. I've seen that's Kavanaugh. The reality is, that's Garrett. We've got two guys who look so much like each other, and yet this is not relevant. This is now where we had seen the fuzzed out picture right before. This is current photos of Kavanaugh and Chris Garrett. So they still look quite a bit like each other. Now, of course, Blasey Ford had a response to this. I knew them both and socialized with them, Ford said, adding that she had once visited the other classmate, Chris Garrett, in the hospital. There is zero chance that I would confuse them. I think the thing about this is just that there certainly is other factors here that play in to the story and that the public isn't being made aware of. And because of this lack of knowledge, now we're seeing things like polls. A record number of voters oppose Kavanaugh nomination.
Like most mass media polls, even if it's Fox News, it doesn't really matter. It seems like a bunch of crap to me. Like, I don't know why people would suddenly go against someone when there hasn't even been testimony yet.
Mr. Kavanaugh has a pretty impeccable list of positive statements about him. Not only was he excellent if you watched any of the confirmation hearings, in his responses, steadfast and an encyclopedia of knowledge, but he has, like here, 65 women defend Kavanaugh as a good person after abuse allegation emerges. These are people who've known him all his life, who know him as a coach to their children and so forth at school. It's an overwhelming number of people who support him and his character. Well, he hasn't been wishy-washy, but he says, hey, this event or anything like it never happened. There's so much more about this if you read the details of her story. So this supposedly happened in 82 when she was 15 and Kavanaugh would have been 17. And he supposedly held her to the bed and was drunk and attempted to rape her or take clothes off. And then a friend supposedly jumped into the room, jumped on him, and then she ran away, went to the bathroom, and then ran out of the house. But there's supposedly only 4 people that she mentioned that were there, and they've all said, hey, this didn't happen, or nothing, or I wasn't even there, or what have you. So the story, it has no backing by anyone else so far. But even when it comes down to what she stated initially, that in her letter and such, that this sexual assault encounter derailed her, this timeline doesn't make sense really, because she went to Stanford University and taught and worked there in 88. So that would be 6 years later. That would mean that essentially like 3 years from 15, from the day this event supposedly happened, until graduation from high school. And that would mean that within 3 years, she went through a college program and got right into teaching.
So say derailed, I guess that's one of the things I'll be very interested to see in the hearing on Thursday, is how she describes she was derailed. Emotionally, I presume. I presume that's what the context is.
But this seems very much like someone who has their head together, and they did better than she did better than most of us, right? And got herself through school. Now maybe, she's strong-willed. She got through this terrible thing, this terrible event, and it fueled her. All I'm saying is there's a lot of questions, and there's certainly a lot of sketchiness to this story, and I think we've come to a crazy place in America these days.
That we're just going to take the word of anyone, no matter how it destroys that a person's career or reputation.
And there's so much at stake here with Judge Kavanaugh's nomination. Obviously, I know how the Republicans have to play this and say, hey, he's going to be neutral, and I think he is going to be fair. I think he's going to be neutral. From everything that I've seen when I've seen him testify, I think he's going to be very well suited for the bench. But certainly, he's not going to be a Ginsburg, right? He's not going to be someone who's just going to lay the door open to liberal policy. Thanks for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Catch me on these alternate media sources.